validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Man, we had us a very long and short week because we're halfway through the week on Wednesday night. Remember, guys, I want you guys to take the opportunity to go and double check what we got going on in the membership, because there is a lot of stuff going on in the membership right now. So before we get started, let's go ahead and remind you guys that, because we're about 15 minutes late. We're live 7 nights a week. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time, and that's why we ask you guys to like, subscribe, and match those notification buttons so that you are up to date in the moment that the show does go live. Now, while we ask you guys to like and subscribe, we also want you guys to match the reaction buttons while you're here, because we have different topics that help you guys become successful in a lot of different ways. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can be successful in Denmark, investing and living in Denmark. So that's going to be one of those topics that we talk about, because since we have different topics every night of the week, on Sundays, we do questions and comments from the fans. You guys have questions about what you're going through, and I give you guys information about how to handle that. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, business and politics, where on Monday we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Then on Tuesdays, we discuss different ways for you to make, save, and invest money, which based off of the information from changes happening, geopolitical changes happening, local politics changing. What are we going to do now? On Tuesdays, we start talking about what are we going to do now with making, saving, and investing money. And then we have on Wednesday, today, we talk about different countries around the world that we can potentially make money and potentially live more affordably than some of the other countries that we come from. Beyond that, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we give you guys information about self-improvement, personal development, relationship topics, socialization, negotiations, building your brand. We talk about promotions, raises, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, termination, and then we give you guys information about your 20 and 30-year plan because it's very important for you guys to figure out where you want to be at in your future. Not so much the Miss America pageant answer, because a lot of you think about it. If I asked you today, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Just simple. 5 years from now. We're in 2026. Where do you see yourself in 2031? I really appreciate it. Thank you for the likes. Mash those reaction buttons while you're here. But really, if I asked you, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? Most people would say, well, stress-free, in good health, happy family, good job, graduated from college or high school or whatever. I got my degree, but the thing is, when you're building a 20 or 30-year plan, the mentality comes from what do you have to do to get there, right? In order for you to graduate from college, you have to complete a certain quantity of classes, which may require you to take prerequisite classes. If you're trying to get a specific job, you might have to intern somewhere, get mentorship from somewhere, get a referral from somewhere. If you guys are trying to move to another city, what city you're going to, based on your income, what neighborhood you're going to. If you're going to another country, what passports do you need? What other documentation do you need if you're trying to go there for permanent stay versus temporary stay? So you have to understand that there's so many things in your life that there's intricate details. If I asked you where you want to be at in 5 years and you don't have a plan, not just what you want to see, because happy is a byproduct, healthy is a byproduct, having a good job is a byproduct. What are you trying to accomplish to get that? That's what we talk about on the show on a regular basis, to aid you guys in your ability to not only recognize that there is another way, but the things that you can do today to start getting there. And there's a lot of stuff that we got to change because we've had a season or a decade or more of bad decisions that we have developed a habit of entertaining. And now we have to break away from traditions, norms, and habits and start paying attention to finding new ways, which might feel a little bit uncomfortable because if you develop a network around the old ways that you used to do things, when you start doing things differently, the people that you hang around are going to start seeing that you're doing things differently. Some of them might heckle you and mock you for it. Others will say that you just switched out and like test your loyalties as a result. The fact is that in order for you to really be successful for yourself, you have to pay attention to what your future looks like, and whether or not these people are going to be in it depends upon whether or not they can adapt to your changes, not the other way around. So it's one of the things that I give you guys a lot of information on a regular basis, and that's why I encourage you guys to come every night of the week if you can, so that you can get the information that you need. And then when you have time, double check. We've got a lot of stuff in the membership in the YouTube channel because we're dominantly on YouTube. We're still waiting to see what's going on with the stream key to get everybody into YouTube, but because we're trying to bridge the gap. And ultimately, the goal of this platform is to have a multi-platform podcast where the comment section is everybody from everywhere talking about how to improve, because how many of us really have forward-thinking friends? Most of us can only think of one person that has a dream or an ambition that they're striving for. But day-to-day operations, most of the time we come together and we talk about who screwed up. We gossip about who got in trouble. We gossip about, who's breaking up with who. Then we have insignificant conversations about what one celebrity does versus another, and what one person got caught on TMZ versus another. But forward-thinking motions. Times is tough. Gas prices are still high. Grocery prices are still high. Tariffs have gone up. Stuff's going to get higher. School season's around the corner. What are you talking about right now for all of you parents about how you guys are going to walk into the next school season with your kids having everything that they need? Most of y'all say, figure it out. But did you ever budget from the year before of doing an inventory of what the kids need or what the kids have versus what they need, and then creating a budget to say, I'm going to put certain quantity of money aside per child so that they can have all of these supplies before school season starts? Um, did you guys ever think that the year before, when all the school supplies were on sale in Christmas time, to buy the supplies in bulk? We don't talk about these things. Even the United States government, who has had a shutdown just about every year for the last 20 years, decided, let's talk about payroll first and then argue about the insignificant stuff later, right? First time in forever that's happened. Usually payroll just gets scooped up in the discussions. This year, they're like, let's talk about payroll first. So when do we have forward-thinking friends? You come to me borrowing money for a bill because you don't have enough money for a bill. Let's talk about your budget. Let's talk about like what all you got to pay for. Yeah, if I help you out with the bill, I help you out with the bill. But let's talk about budget. Like, not just helping your friends be more financially successful just so that you can say that you helped your friends. Literally building the type of network where they don't have to keep coming to you and borrowing money from you all the time. Because when you think about how you might be so loyal to your team that any one of them can come to you and borrow $100, $200, $500, $1,000, and you got them, and they don't got to bring it back. That's like half your paycheck disappearing every month, and they don't got to bring it back. The most loyal friends are the ones that do bring it back eventually, or they borrow it, and then when you need money, you borrow back from them what they borrowed from you. They can't tell you no because they owe you money. That's not true friendship. That's transactional interactions with individuals, because the best friends to have are the ones, not the ones that'll go out there and get in trouble with you. Yeah, from the 90s, it's like, oh, I want a ride or die friend that'll help me commit this crime and we're in jail together, blah, blah, blah. The better friend is the one that bailed you out, and the best friend is the one that taught you how to go and do it. Truth. In addition to that, instead of us making bad decisions in order to come up, why not make better decisions so that we don't have to get involved with the bad decisions? If we're not talking about different ways to start up businesses, like I told Steven, I'm like, hey man, you're a college student. You could take your notes and put them up online for sale at $5 a download and make money off of that. Just 1,000 students download your stuff, you'd have made $5,000. And there's a few 100,000 students in every college. So if you're in a state that's got a lot of colleges, you can go to each one of those colleges and just ask the students on campus, hey, can I get a copy of your syllabus? That's all you need, a copy of the syllabus. Got the course curriculum name on it, and it's got all of the stuff that's supposed to be taught. And then you can sit there, use AI, and you can create a document that has the next 3 months worth of content in linear fashion related to this thing. And then you can just put it at the top of the download file, the course name and course number, and in some situations for the specific teacher that's teaching that particular course, and then all of the notes that would be relevant for that particular course, and then put it up for sale. You would have a massive business, because you've got return college students that don't have time to take notes. They come to class, they're tired, they work a full-time job, and they're trying to go to school and better their lives. You got students that don't know how to take notes. You've got people that are too lazy to take notes. And if they know the two things, then you got the curious ones, the ones that want to know what they're getting themselves into. They'll spend $5 to see the notes, to see what the course looks like, because they just signed up for the course. And the ones that are lazy, that don't want to do it, they'll buy the notes so that they don't have to do it. And at the end of the day, like I said, only 5,000 people have to, or 1,000 people have to download it for you to make $5,000 a month. That's the kind of stuff that makes more sense to your agenda, and it's something that has no overhead. You do it one time, you leave it. As long as that teacher teaches that class, those notes are going to be relevant. This is the kind of stuff that people don't talk to one another about. Like, damn, that's the up and coming business, and it's legal because you're not selling the answers to the test, you're not cheating, you're not doing anything unethical, uh, and it makes more sense because it's something that you could actually go to your old school as an alumni, dap up all your teachers and make that happen, and you can start up a whole business off of that. Where website monitoring is checking the emails that are attached to the website to see if anybody said, hey, my link don't work. Now, what's wild? What's wild about that? Most of us would prefer to go to a job, deal with the stress of having colleagues that don't work as hard as we do, with a boss that favors them over us, that also doesn't perform as much as they should, so that they could find themselves in a position where we're frustrated at the workers, either the people we work with or the people we work for. Then we have the jobs where the customers are always complaining, they're always rude, they're always disrespectful, they always make us want to walk off the job, but we don't. And we have all of this stuff going on here as well. And these are the kind of jobs that we would prefer to work on because we don't want to deal with the chaos of starting something new. And that's why I told you guys, if you're building your 20 and 30-year plan, you actually don't have to worry about people getting on your nerves because you work for yourself. You don't have to deal with customer service because, just like I said, with selling notes for students, that's a situation where there's no interaction. They go to the website, they click the link, they download it, they're good, right? Let's see. Steven says, just worked a 16-hour shift and got in trouble for taking the next day off with my time off. Yeah, I need to figure something out. How do you get in trouble with your boss for requesting time off from work? And then here's the other thing. Why are you asking for time off? This is one of those situations like bosses in America don't have respect for their employees, because if I'm always here, I worked a 16-hour shift, I should be able to tell you I'm not coming to work tomorrow. I did you a favor because labor law says I'm only supposed to work 8. I'm not supposed 16. That's 2 shifts. That's my shift and somebody else's shift. So, like, why did you not find somebody to cover me for tomorrow? And this is the lack of mutual respect that we have, that we get used to, and we choose that lifestyle over working for ourselves. If you're the only person here, there's nobody to be mad at. If the work isn't going fast enough, it's your fault. If there ain't enough clients there, it's your fault. You know what I mean? You can't say that you bust your behind and then somebody showed up and drug and made work harder for you because you're the only one there. And if you did hire somebody, you would hire somebody that can do it better than you, faster than you, more efficiently than you, so that you don't got to worry about it no more. So if they're doing it and you're doing it too, one or two things is happening. You're maximizing your efficiency with your network where your clientele is expanding, or you're no longer doing that work and you're doing something else, like going to other universities and getting their course curriculum. Because you think about it, there's a few hundred teachers in every university. There's a few hundred topics in every university. And if that one job is what you were doing, notes for every college that you can get your hands on, truth be told, most teachers have no problem with giving you a syllabus. Even if you're not a student in their class, they have no problem with giving you a syllabus. They have a problem with giving you the test. They have a problem with giving you the answer to the test, but they have no problem with giving you a syllabus. And you take the syllabus, they're not even going to ask you why more often than not. It's like, hey, can I get a syllabus to your class? And if they ask why, I just want to know what you teach. Boom, they'll send you a PDF file. And subject by subject, you can use AI to create you an entire business selling information that is common knowledge for the convenience of lazy individuals who don't want to try. So, like I said, and I know I went on a decent spiel about this, but like I said, when have you ever hung out with your friends and talked about something like this? When have you ever sat around a campfire, drinking your 40s, your OE, your Cavassier, whatever, sipping on your scissor, smoke your J, and you talk to your friends about, man, what can we do to make more money, make money for us where we don't have to try as hard. And the criteria for what we're about to do, it must be legal. Because you can do all kind of stuff. You can, the gift card scandal that they got going on. You've got the credit card reader machine things that you got going on. We're not talking about the illegal stuff. What legal thing can we do to make money for us without us having to try? And most of us don't have a friend group that does that, because the average friend that we have more often than not is like, you come sell drugs with me, bro. But with all the laws that changed with medical marijuana and CBD oils and everything to that effect, if everybody in your network smoke weed, why y'all ain't built y'all own dispensary? Y'all can unlegally sell it out the back of your car, out the pockets, out your back pocket and whatnot, but y'all can't get a storefront, get you a license for it, and just sell it out the front door. That way FedEx will drop your package off at your house legally, instead of you having to put it into the back of an El Camino and try to ship it cross country and hope that the dogs don't find it. See, this is the stuff that we're saying. Trader, FX Trader says, is it true that when you are your own boss, you have to work harder than ever before? No more 8 hours going home. When you are starting up the business, there are so many things that needs to get done. If you do not have a plan, and if you do not have a strategy, and if you do not have time management skills, your work ethic will overwhelm you, because you want to see profits, you want to see results, and you have all the time in the world when you're not working on a job for somebody else to get this done. And what will happen is that until you start seeing significant satisfactory income, you will continue to overwork yourself because you are not there yet. So, like, for example, I used to do this 18 hours a day. I shouldn't have to, but I would block out 4 to 6 hours for editing videos. I would block out 4 to 6 hours for SEOs. I got to do 3-4 hours for the podcast itself. And I would do that 7 days a week, no days off. Why? Because I have nothing else to do, not because I don't value my days off. I don't have anything more valuable than this. So that's why I do it. And that's the mentality of people who are going to voluntarily sacrifice their extra time. Now, when you're working for somebody else, the system is already established. You have an assigned time slot of performance. So you show up for that 8 hours, you just there. You either do something or you don't, then you clock out and you go home. So the trade-off for working for yourself versus working for somebody else is that your performance reflects your outcome, and you do not have to deal with individuals that you don't want to deal with because you are your own boss. The downside is that you have to structure your own limits. Your work ethic might be to come in an hour early, stay an hour late, and your boss force you to clock out and go home by telling you clock out. And then after a while, I'm clocking you out. Now that you know that you're no longer getting paid, you stop working. They have to force you to stop working. If you are your own boss, you're not going to tell yourself, oh, I'm not going to work anymore, I'm going to stop. Why? Because subconsciously, you're going to feel like once you stop moving, that you're being lazy. That's going to be what happens. You're going to decide that your lack of performance is you being lazy. If you were laying down 23 hours a day, not doing anything, that'd be lazy. But if you are up and you've done more than 8 hours out of a day worth of work towards your podcast or your online website or your networking, whatever it is that you did it for, once you put in your 8 hours for the day, you should be able to tell yourself, let me stop here and set this for another day. And even still, if you want to take days off, you should be able to say, on these days, I'm not doing nothing towards this, right? But that requires you to set limits for yourself. So yeah, it can be, if you work for yourself, no more 8 hours and going home, because you work from home. You're already home. So now that you're at home and you have this subconscious mind that's nagging you to get up and do more, you're going to continue to do until you fall asleep. And you might take a break from your work when your friends come over to hang out, and then y'all will sit and talk, and you might show them some of the progress that you made, and that might be your break time. But then when they get up and leave, you're gonna get back to work. That's how it's gonna be, because the people who want to be successful are not going to stop trying, right? The people who don't care, they might take forever to start, but the people who want to be successful, they're not going to stop trying. If I'm awake, we were conditioned, trader, with the idea that if you got time to lean, you got time to clean. So if I got time to play video games, I got time to do some more work for my site. If I got time to watch movies on Netflix, I got time to do more work for my site. That's the whole logic. So if you only sleep 4 to 6 hours out of the day, you got a good 18 hours out of the day that you could dedicate to something. And if you don't dedicate it to something else, you dedicate it to work. So yeah, no more 8 hours is going to happen, but that's a byproduct of your own personal decisions, not the demand of being a self-employed employee. Because like I told you guys, once I learned about time management, I actually dialed it back, and I only do like 4 to 6 hours on this. Outside of this show, it's another 3 or 4 hours, and that's it. 5 at the most, and then that's it. I'm like, nope, I'm taking a nap. I'm gonna go find something else to do some stuff around the house. I'm not gonna sit here and just be here from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed, just sitting in front of this computer, just doing this. There's other things that I can be doing. And I make sure that I go and get that stuff done. And that's one of the reasons why I come here sometimes 5, 10, 15 minutes late, wrapping things up, because when I got up, I said, first, let me go wash the dishes. Let me feed the dogs. Let me take the dogs for a walk. Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me make some coffee before the podcast. By the time my cup of coffee finished, it was 11:30. Let me get ready for the show. By the time I got ready for the show, it was 11:40. Started the podcast 11:45. Because while the podcast is very important to me, the other things needed to get done first. I shouldn't let it linger, right? But that also requires you to, again, have time prioritization. Now, today we're supposed to be talking about Denmark. So if you guys were to consider an operational base in Denmark with a budget of $3,000, which would equate to roughly 21,000 Danish kroner, what do you guys think that would be like? On the surface, it appears to be a silent financial position. I mean, the common perception fueled by social media is of a simple, happy Scandinavian lifestyle, cycling past colorful buildings, enjoying high quality goods, and living the famed higged lifestyle. It's like a straightforward proposition, right? However, the reality is it's a high stakes game of financial strategy, a complex system of cultural norms, and a social scene that operates on an entirely different set of protocols. One of the things that we have to recognize when we go to other countries is the first thing that nobody really pays attention to is that it is not the way it is in the United States, which means in order for you to get what they would call Western style living, you would have to pay more money. So when you're looking at the lifestyle of the average person, which is going to be below middle class in every country around the world, they can show you prices in certain countries that are like $800, $1,000, $500 a month. And truthfully, if you're going to live like the locals, you could effectively have the lifestyle price that you want, but the actual lifestyle that you want wouldn't be inside of that price. Because like you can go to Japan, and if you live like the Japanese, you can $800 a month, but they got futons on the floor, not queen size beds. They walk everywhere, not drive everywhere, right? They cycle in places that are far. See what I'm saying? Not Uber and Lyft all over the place. And their country is bigger than ours. So ultimately, if we wanted to live the way we live in America over there, we would likely not be living that lifestyle for $800 a month. It might cost us twice as much. It might cost us $1,600 a month. It wouldn't cost us the $5,500 worth of rent that's in Dane, New York, but it would be more than what people advertise on the surface. Michael says, special shout out to Michael and FX Trader and Steven from the YouTube side of things. He says, Mormer and Morfar, grandma and grandpa, Danish. Oh, okay, we learned something new. I would not feel comfortable saying that because it sounds too close to mug, you know what I mean? MF and now I can say, oh, that means grandma. Nah, I don't. These MF and some guns be out there cussing people out in Danish like Stone Cold Steve Austin. But this is not going to be a romanticized overview because I know that so many people believe that other countries, they look beautiful on paper, they look beautiful with the photos and the videos that you see on social media, and I know that everybody wishes that they could go and see a lot of these places, but the practicality, like for example, some places don't have good internet, don't have good revolving utilities, like we talked about certain countries we've covered that have rolling blackouts. So as amazing as it might look, if you were an 80s baby, 70s baby, like Michael's from the 50s, where before we had all of this advancements of technology, we used to be able to enjoy jacks, pong, jump ropes, spinning something or other. That would be the stuff that would put us outside having fun without needing power, without needing internet, without needing anything that would negatively impact our ability to have a good time. Modern times, 2026, we can't see ourselves going somewhere without a functioning cell phone. We can't see ourselves without an iPad or iTablet or being able to update our IG or our Snapchat or something or other, not being able to doom scroll through TikTok or YouTube. And to say that you'll be going to a country that might look beautiful on the surface, but we would be digitally detached from society in that culture, we might not want to see that. We might not want to experience that. And in order to prevent that, we might want to pay an arm, leg, and an eye in order to make that not be a thing, right? That's the stuff that we don't talk about. So today we're going to be giving you guys a tactical analysis or analysis of what operating in Denmark on a $3,000 a month salary truly entails. It's not going to be a simple life. It's going to be a strategic life. And this playbook is going to be for executing a successful strategy in Denmark. FX Trader says Denmark is supposed to be the happiest country in the world. I don't remember why though. I mean, America is supposed to be the richest country in the world, and I don't see why. I mean, technically, I can see why, because we're very wasteful. We make a lot of money so that we can waste a lot of money, and that would be like there's a lot more money that could be earned in America. But when you cross-reference the standard of living in America versus the income being made in America, we make less money than we need to survive a comfortable lifestyle. So to me, America is not the richest country in the world because we don't have an abundance of resources to pay for ridiculousness. But we do have enough extra discretional capital to take 20 or 30% of our income and put it towards our retirement so that we don't have to work forever. So technically, it could very well be true. It's just, the lifestyles that we choose and the income that we spend, we find ourselves not having enough money to get from paycheck to paycheck. But the core variables that we're going to be dealing with using $3,000 a month in Denmark, while this represents a comfortable income in many parts of the world, in Denmark, it is categorized as a careful strategist, right? Hold on. Trader says it could be a lot of government services paid by high taxes. Well, Switzerland and because we covered Switzerland that did that, and then there was another country that I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, where their taxation was around 28% of your income, but there was so much government funding that you would not have to worry about falling off. There was such a huge government safety net for its people, but that's way more than what we're dealing with. If they're paying 28% across the board, and some of us are getting away with little and nothing. Come here. Not you, her. She's sitting over here trying her best to fix this thing. Come here. Not you, her. It's wrapped around your face. Come here. Come here. Come here. You got your whole collar then came off your head. We trying to have a live podcast, and I'm got the thing wrapped around. So it was it was wrapped around her mouth. It was worse than a muzzle. I was like, yeah, I can't leave you like that for an hour to have to fix you. And then we got the dog collar on her where it is she too small for it to fit around her neck. So I'm gonna show you guys on TikTok, and then I'm gonna show you guys over on YouTube. It's too small for it to fit around her neck. So I got it around her tummy. And I'm gonna put some videos up soon. But when we take her outside to walk at night, she's like a Need for Speed dog because she's got the underglow under her tummy. So you see her running across the street, and the light is directly under her belly as she runs across the street. Entertaining. But yeah, as I was saying, back to the show. As I was saying, yeah, there is in fact an observation that more government taxation would provide more government funding for the rest of the people, and the more government funding for the rest of the people would in fact uh, help the people get more of what they need to sustain themselves when they are on the bottom end of things. He said, that's a really cute dog, a snack for a coyote. Well, the big dog ate the small dog yesterday. That was entertaining. I had to do first aid kit and all of this other stuff and make them behave with one another. What is that? T. I appreciate you, T, for coming back and showing some more likes on the show. But we don't have coyotes here, and if we did, I mean, I'm Second Amendment strong. So when they go outside, I go outside with them more often than not, and I can see them. We've got surveillance now in Denmark. 21,000 Danish kroner may seem substantial initially, because I mean we count numbers unit for unit, right? So when you hear 21,000, oh, that's a lot. Not really, right? The local economic context provides a different perspective. This income is workable for a single individual, but it's going to fall far below the average net salary for a full-time person in Denmark by local standards. So this is not a high earning bracket. Recent estimates places a single person's monthly cost at around 8,266 Denmark kroners before rent. So and when you think about rent is usually in most places like 60% of your income. So if a third of your income is gone from your standard of living, or more than a third, because a third will be like 8,000 out of 24,000, you've got 21,000, and it's taking almost 8.5. So you're looking at probably closer to like 40% of your money is gone for your standard of living before rent. 60% isn't there. Suddenly 21,000 kroner is not an ocean of cash, but a finite resource requiring meticulous management. Now, recognizing this going in, if we were planning on taking a trip to another country, if we were planning on staying there for a month, a year, I always recommend whatever it is that you thought you were going to spend when you go out there, double it. That's what I would do. Okay. Now, we started this with a $3,000 a month expectation. And if I was going to Denmark, I probably would have brought $6,000. If I said I was going to be there for a month, I would have brought $6,000, right? To spend, plus the flight to get there, plus the flight to go back. That would be the logic. Because whatever I need for the 30 days that I'm there should be bought off of that $6,000, which would have been ultimately like 42,000 kroner, right? So the single most critical factor that determines budgetary success is going to be your location, no matter where you go, because we could go to some of the most beautiful countries in the world. Tourist traps is what they call them, because they attract you to go there. You get stuck in the high price amenities, because the best parts, everybody does it, even America, the best parts of the country is what's shown to the rest of the world. And then the rest of the world wants to come to see the best parts of the country in person. That's one of the reasons why New York is one of the most expensive places in America. So is California, so is Florida, because those are those tourist trap areas. But who knows about Wisconsin or Wyoming? Not very many people. Some people can't even identify where it's located at on the map, right? That's how little information that we get about them, right? And those places are far cheaper. So you can come to America from another country and go to a place like Wisconsin or Wyoming and not spend nearly as much as you would spend by coming to California, Florida, or New York. But that's where they go, because that's what they hear about. They usually fly into Seattle, right? From Asia to Seattle, right? So they can walk out of the airport into California, right? And California's huge, right? So the desire for a charming apartment in a central Copenhagen, that's going to be where we're going to be doing. That's going to be the first element to discard the overpriced housing if you were in Denmark, right? And this is going to aid with your financial model. Copenhagen, Denmark is like outskirts of the city, not like the inner tourist trap city. Now, while the city center average for a one-bedroom apartment can be somewhere around 8,000 kroner, desirable apartments can easily command between 12,500 and 17,000 kroner. Out of your 21,000 kroner, that's damn near all of it. So we want to avoid some of the more higher priced areas. Now, one of the things you remember is that you get what you pay for. So if you're paying for luxury, again, you would have to go and grab double. Go out there with 6 grand, because if you were trying to spend 2 grand on a place to stay, you would have 4 grand left for your Western style expectations in Denmark. But this is going to reveal a fundamental truth for operating on true budgets, because you can live in Denmark or you can live in central Copenhagen. Accomplishing both on $3,000 a month is not feasible. So the strategic pivot is to leverage Denmark's excellent train system and focus on the smaller yet highly functional city. Right? Locations like Aarhus, Odense, and Aalborg. Aalborg. It's Aalborg. So it's almost like Ron. Now, because these are going to be some primary targets, right? That's what we're talking about. These, the ones that are not so inner city kind of thing. Aarhus, Denmark, is the second largest city, and the one-bedroom apartments there are going to be outside the center, found at around 6,000 kroner to 9,000 kroner. Odens and Aalborg, the cost can be even lower, potentially around 5,000 to 7,500 kroner, which is cheaper than the 8,000 kroner we were just talking about. And this is going to be the parameter that makes the $3,000 a month strategy viable. Because when you set yourself a budget to go on a trip, it's not the destination of the country. It is the touchdown spot of the city and the standard of living you're going to have. Will it be a hotel? Will it be a rental property? Will it be an Airbnb style scenario? Bed and breakfast style scenario? What's going on? And real quick, because I know that when I've traveled before, I grab hotels that have the continental breakfast. Even though I grab the hotel with the continental breakfast with no intention of wanting to be awake in the daytime, I still make it a point, because the food is included in the price to go and eat. If you ever pay money for a service, that is included in the price. Whether you wanted the service or not, you better take your behind down there and go use that service. So if food is included in the stay, I'm eating before I do anything else. And I'm going to eat as much as I can so that I don't have to worry about where am I going to go to eat after this, right? $150 hotel is going to feed you first thing in the morning. I want to be one of the first people down there. And I'm feeding my dogs too. We're going to all be sitting at the table like Snoop Doggy Dogg and the Dog Pound, and we're going to be sitting around a table just getting our grub on. Everybody going to be looking at us like, damn, they done ate up all the sausage links. Yes, we did. It's charged to the room. Yes, we did. So let's reconstruct a budget that's going to be based off of a realistic model in Denmark. For rent and utilities, a modest one-bedroom apartment in a city like Aarhus is going to be budgeted at around 7,000 kroners, right? Utilities are going to be significantly expensive, as Denmark has some of the highest electric prices in Europe. Heat, water, and electricity and internet can add another 1,200 to 1,800 kroner. A safe allocation would be around 1,500 kroner for your utilities. So the house with the utilities in it would be 8,500 kroner, over a third of the budget. All right, that's normal. Next, we'd be looking at some groceries. You have a supermarket present that has some financial challenges there. A liter of milk is going to be about 12 to 15 kroner. A loaf of bread is around 20 to 25 kroner. Half a kilogram of chicken breast is going to cost you about 35 kroner. And you got to understand, if $3,000 is 21,000 kroner, you're likely spending about $5 or $5 to $10, $15, $20 on each one of these items. You got to learn the currency exchange, because efficiency is key. You want to learn for discount supermarket chains like Netto, Rema, Rema 1000, and then Lidl. That's going to be crucial. These are places you gotta find, you gotta get accustomed to. One of the things that helps before you go, if possible, but when you get there, as soon as you get there, try to find a local that you can befriend that has some free time that can kind of show you where these things are, so that you can find some less expensive places to go shop. Because if you go to the big place that the tourists know about, it is going to be overpriced, and you're going to have to cover the cost of that. Cooking at home becomes a default when you're living on a budget. Realistic monthly groceries for one person, exercising caution, between 2,500 and 3,500 kroner. And if we add that to the budget, you're running a total of about 11,500 kroner out of 21,000 kroner, which leaves you less than 10,000 kroner left, right? Then we start factoring in transportation. This area offers a significant opportunity for cost savings. So the primary strategy is to adopt a bicycle. And we call it adopting a bicycle. But true to life, you're either going to rent it, borrow it from the people who live there, or buy one and keep it while you're there, and then give it away or sell it when you get ready to leave, right? Now, I understand that in America, adopting a bicycle means that you see a bicycle that's not chained up and you just use it without the intent of bringing it back unless you end up in that area. You just got a free bike, but that's not what we're doing. You were literally going somewhere and acquiring this bicycle from a specific individual that will lease it to you, rent it to you, give it to you, sell it to you, so that you have a bicycle to get around. So for individuals that are not able-bodied, that's going to be another thing that you have to think about when you're going on travels around the world. So when you're planning your 20 and 30-year plan for the future, your retirement, your physical condition, if you have issues that prevents you from being able to ride a bicycle or ride on a scooter or something to that effect, if you've got kids and they can't handle that, or if, like, I travel with service animals and the bike doesn't have a sidecar for both dogs kind of situation, you gotta bring extra money to cover the inconvenience and the luxury of having another mode of transportation to get you around. But if you can get it done and they can follow you, follow behind the bike until they get wore out, then shit, run them bastards, run them. Steven says, many of my bikes as kids got it. Nah, it was the other way around for me, bro. My friends used to drop off a bunch of orphan bikes to my house, and then I would repurpose them where they were previously adopted. And they were brought to me. And then I had to find them a good home. I was bougie though as a kid. I had to buy mine straight out the stove, fresh out the bubble wrap. That's always been my thing. I even now when I think about, ooh, I want to go and get me another Gen 1 uh uh 9mm shield. The condition that I have with that is that I really want a Gen 1, but I really want a brand new Gen 1. And since Gen 1 stopped being manufactured like 2019 or something like that, the likelihood of me getting a zero owner Gen 1 is slim to none. I might find a one owner Gen 1 which is used, and it contradicts my personal preference of fresh out the bubble wrap. But I can get a certified pre-owned Gen 1 from a local pawn shop. But my friends had no problem. They'd be walking down the street and be like, oh, a bike. I I had chains, locks, had an alarm, walk away from my bike. Whoop, whoop. Not gonna have one of the Pee Wee Herman moments where the bike is gone, but all the chains are still chained to the pole. Oh, that's wild. Steven says, the city I'm from, they wouldn't cut the chain to adopt the bike because of how much they like them. Oh, oh, they take the chain too. Yeah, they had some of John Cena chain, a big old car chain wrapped around their neck with a padlock as a pendant on it. We did some of the wildest stuff growing up. Um, so getting a bicycle is going to be beneficial for you if you're trying to save money, but if you're not trying to ride bicycles, you got to understand that you're going to be spending a lot more money in Denmark for transportation. Danish infrastructure is going to be designed for bicycles, so a one-time investment in a used bicycle is going to yield substantial savings, as public transport, while efficient, is more expensive than just getting on a bike and riding around. And that's going to be also the thing in other countries like, Tokyo, Japan, Singapore, all of these other places, Seoul, all of these other like big places that, it's cheap to get around because everybody's walking. Everybody, even the old people with canes and wheelchairs and stuff, is walking everywhere, right? So getting that exercise in is heavily important. So if you're an American that spends more time in your bed than on your feet, for you to go to another country for a vacation, you are setting yourself up for failure because you will always have to walk everywhere. You will have to walk down the street to go and find you something to eat. You're going to have to walk down the street to find you something to do. You're going to have to walk back. You're going to get lost. You're going to have to walk around until you find somebody that speaks your language to give you directions on how to walk back to where you came from. There's no scenario where, you know, you can go from being lazy in America to being active in another country. You would have to condition yourself now in this country to be active so that when you get to the next country, that you're ready for it. So if you're a couch potato, if you're a gamer, if you're one of those dudes that like to, you know, sit on the couch and smoke till the sun comes up, from 420 to 420, you got it blazed. If that's you, you're gonna have to change the way you do things in order for you to get out there and go get it done in another country, because the exercise required to make the living affordable exceeds your motivation to be mobile. What? Hold on a second. They sitting over here talking about filter and stuff. And over here, okay, there we go. Y'all over here on TikTok, somebody putting up some inappropriate comments over here, thing talking about some filter the comments for the community. I don't understand what's going on with y'all. YouTube is behaving better. Now, a one-time investment on a bicycle, we already covered that. So a single bus ticket, let's talk about the single bus ticket. The single bus ticket is 24 kroner. So a monthly pass can cost several hundred kroner, right? So if you did that, you'd be looking at right around 12,500 kroner. And that's something that you would have to, oh no, we don't want to, I don't want to see the stuff that's not in the feed. You don't gotta show that. It's just sitting over here trying to show me this dude keep popping back in. I don't know why they got the free time to keep coming back to the same live with the same spam. It's like, once you popped in on the show 3 days ago and you got blocked, why make 18 more emails so that you can come back to the same podcast and troll it again 3 more days in a row? I don't understand. Y'all kill me. So back to Denmark. If you've got you a discretionary budget covering your base standard of living, you got about $12,500 out of 21,000 kroner that you would need to exist in this country comfortably. This area here is going to cover the social life, hobbies, and incidentals. The costs are going to be a little bit notable, but we need to go ahead and talk about it. A beer at a bar is like 70 kroner. Cocktail, 120 kroner. Simple coffee, a simple coffee is 40 to 50 kroner. So one beer at the bar is worth 2 cups of coffee. One cocktail is worth 3 cups of coffee. So when you think about your cups of coffee in America, and you think about a beer in America, it's reversed. Coffee costs more money in America than a beer if you're going to Starbucks. So if we're trying to maintain a functional lifestyle on a tight allocation of about 2,500 kroner, you're going to have to limit your discretionary spending on luxuries like coffee. So if you tally everything up that we've been talking about today, $8,500 for the rent, utilities, $3,000 for the groceries, and this is kroner, not US dollars. Transportation is around 1,000 kroner. Discretionary spending about $2,500. You have about 15,000 kroner out of the initial 21,000 kroner, which would leave you a surplus of about 6,000 kroner in Denmark currency. And that would be approximately $850 out of $3,500 left over, right? So on paper, this appears positive. However, this is the best case scenario budget. It does not account for unforeseen expenses like medical bills or equipment failure. It requires significant discipline, and that means declining many social opportunities. Hold on. Nah, this guy came back again. But before we do that, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this, and then I'm sorry, guys. We've gotta deal with this particular situation so that we can get rid of this person like permanently. So, can you survive on $3,000 a month in Denmark? Of course you can. But surviving is the key term. A lot of the times you can look at the advertisements where people tell you that you can go to another country for little or no money. That advertisement is to get your ass on a plane so that you can get over there. You can survive anywhere with far less than what you need to thrive. But surviving is not what we try to do here on This and That. On This and That, we talk about this, that, and everything in between and cover all the ways that you can thrive, you can succeed, you can expand, you can automate, because life surviving is a life on struggle. And who wants to spend their entire life born in the struggle, living in the struggle, dying in the struggle? No, at some point in your life, something's got to shake, something's got to change, where you go from struggling to not struggling. That's the hope. All right, and then we're gonna block this guy again. They are diligent about coming to the show. Woo. So if you're looking at the necessities of a life of conscious choices and strategic sacrifices, where you recognize that you don't have enough, but you have enough. I don't know if y'all know what that's like. Some of y'all should know, right? For example, in America, you might be living on like a $4,000 or less a month income, where you can get by from month to month, but you don't have enough to do more than that. You know, where you're surviving, where you kind of got your bills paid, you kind of got your Lord, they putting in work. They're putting in a lot of work today. But yeah, you work on your 4,000 or 3,000 or whatever a month income, where you put a lot of effort into trying to keep your bills paid. You always have this high level of anxiety where you're not sure if the money that you have will last you until the next time you get paid again. You are not sure how to navigate from this location to that location, where as it pertains to money, things you want to do when you do actually spend money on something, then you see a bill come in and you don't quite have enough money to pay for it, or you don't know if you're going to have enough money to pay for it. Even if you do, you find yourself in a position where you regret doing anything for yourself, because you know right now that you could have used that money for entertaining yourself for this particular financial obligation, which leads you to have resentment towards yourself for trying to enjoy life because you don't have enough money to do everything, right? That's how we live in America in a lot of situations. And it is encouraged that if you're going to go to another country and enjoy life in another country, that you set your life up so that you do not have to continue living that way, right? Even if it's a short vacation, 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever, the ability to do within reason everything you want without having to acknowledge the fact that you don't have enough should be the ideal when you're going there. But the budget has to be substantial and reasonable at the same time. Because like I said, going over there on a $3,000 a month budget, we could make it, right? With $800 something left over, right? And if we were only going to be there for 30 days, that would be fine. You know, you might have to bring an extra $2,000 just in case, some just in case money, right? But if you were going to be there for 3 months, that extra $800 might not be enough, right? The idyllic, carefree Scandinavian lifestyle carries a higher price tag than survival lifestyle. An expertarian's first pay slip in Denmark is an instructive experience. The disparity between the gross salary and the net amount deposited in the bank is going to be enormous. So if you're going there to work, you guys got to understand the results of the Danish tax system, which funds the country's comprehensive social safety net, including free healthcare, free education, and infrastructure. This system is funded significantly by personal income tax. So if you went to Denmark to go work and live in Denmark, the amount of money that you need to earn would have to be far greater than the amount of money that you would need to enjoy the lifestyle because of the taxation levels. The structure is going to go as follows. First, there's an 8% flat rate labor market contribution tax. AM Bidridge is deducted. Following that are municipal and state taxes. The average municipal tax is around 25%. State taxes are progressive. The cumulative effect is an effective tax rate for many individuals between 38% and 45% income tax. All right, I just want y'all to know that. Now, for those of you that are in America, heaping and hawing over 12 and 22% taxes with tax deductions, these folks in Denmark are 38 and 45% taxation, which is like 10 to 20% more than what we pay when we're hemming and hawing over 12 and 25%. Okay, they paying double. This is a critical point for our analysis. To achieve the net monthly income, net meaning the difference between what you get versus what they take, net income of 21,000 kroner or 3,000 US dollars per month, your gross salary would have to be closer to 35 or 36,000 kroner, which is an extra $2,000 a month. All salary negotiations are going to be based on net figures, not gross figures, right? This high tax environment dictates local financial behavior, explaining the prevalence of frugality, bill splitting, and a cultural aversion to ostentatious displays of wealth. Because who's going to want to waste all that extra money when the government is about to take damn near half of your income every month? However, significant strategic advantages do exist within this system. There is a special expat tax regime for, they call it Forsker-ordning. Forsker-sorting. I don't know how to pronounce that. I tried, y'all. I tried. Either way, it's a scheme that is a potential game changer because it's designed to attract highly skilled, highly paid professionals. Qualifying individuals pay a flat tax with an effective rate of about 32%. And that's 27% plus the 8% flat rate, because you got the flat rate and then you've got what they usually do, but they're going to give you a set level at 32%. That's a substantial deviation from the progressive rate. But the progressive rate between 38 and 45, you're really only saving like 6 to 10. You're not saving a lot, right? But the main condition is the highly paid requirement, because as of 2026, the minimum monthly salary to qualify for this particular type of high pay salary has been lowered down to 65,400 kroner. Now, remember, you need like 35 or 40 kroner in order to make the 21,000 kroner after taxes to live the lifestyle that we talked about. And apparently, you would need to make double that in order to qualify for the 10% off, which means you would ultimately end up with leftover double that to do what you got to do. Because if you need 35,000 kroner to have 21,000 kroner, you need to earn 65,000 kroner to get the 10% off. You're going to have an extra 3,000 kroner left over. Well, 3,000 US dollars left over, like an extra 42. You'd have an extra 41 or 42,000 kroner left over, right? So this change makes the scheme accessible to broader ranges of international talent. So returning to that $3,000 a month scenario, a gross salary of around 36,000 kroner is far from the 65,400 kroner threshold. This is going to highlight a crucial reality for the middle income expatriates. Because again, if you're looking at 65,000 kroner, you're looking at $6,000 a month. 6,000 US dollars a month. The most significant financial advantage in the country is likely inaccessible if you're going there with a $36,000 or $48,000 a year income. Because if you need $6,000 a month, you're going to be closer to $72,000 or $75,000 a year income, which is middle America. So likely, you're going to experience the standard Danish tax system if you are making money in the Danish culture in Denmark. Understanding this dynamic is going to be pivotal. Denmark is not an environment for aggressive wealth accumulation through high wages and low taxes. The system is engineered to tax high wages to fund a high quality of life for all the residents, right? Instead of America, where the taxes is like on a tier system that benefits the wealthy and not the poor, right? So the strategic focus must shift from wealth accumulation to efficient resource allocation if you're going to live there. So after mastering the budget and reconciling with the tax system, a small monthly surplus, the hypothetical 6,000 kroner a month, becomes available for investment opportunities. And the question is going to be, how do you deploy this capital efficiently and effectively? Well, the present issue that we have is another Danish paradox. Despite being one of the world's most stable economies, it can be a challenging environment for a small-scale foreign investor. And that reminds me, Stephen, you and I were talking about last week, and I haven't done it yet. I got distracted, and then I forgot. But we were supposed to be going over some of the potential investment opportunities in the Chinese market. So I am going to take time today directly after the show, and I'm going to look into that. And then I'm going to put that information into the membership. And then I told you I was going to tag in that any concerns that you might have with international taxing. Because one question is, can you invest as a foreigner? And if you can, how? And then if you do, what's good? And then the other question would be, if you're being taxed as a foreigner, how does that apply when you start filing your taxation in America as like, I've never been to China kind of thing? How does all that stuff work out? So I'm going to be trying to see if I can find out some of that information and start answering some of those questions today. And then if I don't get all the questions answered today, I should, but if I don't, I'll be trying to get those questions answered for the rest of the week. He says, do they also have a K-shaped economy? Good question. That means you were paying attention to the last that we were talking about. Denmark is actually doing a universal funding scenario where they're taxing the bejesus out of everybody equivalently. And they're going to then provide all the resources to everybody equivalently. So I think the only K-shaped scenario that you're going to see is on an expatriate level, because if you go there as an expat, you only get the discount if you're a high earner. They're not providing you a tax break as a low earner, right? So that would be a K-shaped experience right there. But they're doing that to incentivize bringing in more wealthier people from America or other countries, as opposed to bringing less people in there. And that does make a little bit more sense because the country survives off of larger incomes. So instead of encouraging more financially challenged people to show up to your country, you want to encourage more wealthy people to show up to your country. You want to discourage financially challenged people from coming to your country so that they don't accidentally fall on the system while they're here, whether it's a short-term stay or a long-term stay. But the primary obstacle that you're going to have again is going to be taxation in Denmark. Taxes and capital gains from stocks and dividends at 27% on initial gains raises to 42% on gains above a certain threshold. And this is going to have to be factored into any investment calculation when you start trying to turn a profit. Many expertarians use Denmark as a lifestyle base while deploying their investment capitals through international brokerage accounts or investing overseas so that Denmark doesn't stick them with the bill, right? As a world leader in green energy, Denmark does offer numerous green energy focused stocks, which is good for us for the most part. And they offer ETFs on Copenhagen Stock Exchange, which is also good for us. So this is going to allow for investments that aligns with the country's prevailing values. You may be able to find yourself with economic zone tax deductions and tax credits for these particular things if you do your research and invest in them wisely. Now, a more unorthodox option is going to be the Nordic Forestry Fund. These represent the ultimate slow growth but tangible asset. It's a strategy of wealth preservation rather than rapid growth. Now, this approach is characteristically Danish as stable, predictable, and connected to nature, offering insight into the local investment psychologies that prioritizes stability over speculation. So instead of trying to ride the stock market and deal with the volatility in Denmark, you might invest in its wildlife. Then there's going to be the quintessential Danish financial products. The Boren Paspering or child savings accounts. This is going to be the tax-free savings vehicles for the children. We don't have that here in America. It's a powerful tool for providing a financial head start for your kids. While not applicable to a single individual, its existence is a profound cultural indicator because this is savings accounts for kids. So if you're a single man, you don't have any kids, you can't get one of these. But if you're a parent and you got kids, you can utilize this. Now, some parents might find a way to utilize their kids' savings accounts so that the adults can have a little extra money going around until the kids get old enough. But either way you go, when you're doing this, you are building something that the kids will get their hands on once they're of age, right? So it demonstrates that the Danish financial system is fundamentally oriented towards the long term, the collective, and the family unit. America isn't like that. It's an every man for himself situation. You carry your children like anchors until they're like 18, 25, something like that. Then you start cutting them off, especially when they don't respect your authority. And you find the kids are struggling financially the way the adults used to struggle when they were 18. We do not have generational wealth for the bottom 50% of Americans where we actually deliberately put money in a place where the kids will have something when we leave, and the kids are taught stuff that they can teach their kids, but their kids can have something when they leave. So if we have like 15-year apart generations where babies having babies, where at 45 you have a great grandchild, where you should be teaching your grandchild and your great grandchild how to be financially responsible, so that when you pass over and leave money to your child, your grandchild and your great grandchild know how to make, save, and invest this money. That would be the generational knowledge that used to be passed down from generation to generation back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and it kind of started phasing out in the 80s and 90s, and nobody cares after 2000s. So it's a wild observation. So the investor's dilemma in Denmark on a $3,000 monthly budget is going to be clear. You have a limited surplus that makes high stakes investing very challenging, because high stakes investing is going to take high investing principle. You're going to need a larger quantity to start with, and the local system is going to favor stability over aggressive growth. A hybrid approach is often going to be the most logical solution. So in a small investment scenario in Danish green energy ETFs for local market exposure, with a majority of savings channeled into established international accounts, the true return on investment in Denmark is not going to be purely financial, it's going to be cultural. So one of the reasons why people say, well, Denmark is one of the best places to go, because it's less complicated, since a lot more government services are producing the easygoing lifestyle that everybody likes to have. An operational plan cannot solely rely on a spreadsheet, though. It must account for human factors. Building a social and professional network in Denmark presents a unique challenge that's going to require some specific strategies. You can't just go there, drop down, and just think that it's all going to be good. Trader says, I'm guessing that Xander's grandkids will get the mother load and have an easy life. Well, if I do it right, I should have at least one kid that takes over the podcast and start co-hosting the podcast with me before I stop podcasting, where the second generation of podcasts will be continuing to provide you guys with all of the information that y'all need to make, save, and invest money, where you would see the second or third generation of financial wealth being talked about on this podcast. Hopefully, if I do it right, the podcast might go to a scenario where we start having a large quantity of financially successful people being interviewed on how they make themselves successful. What changes would you make in order to improve that success, and then covering a lot more angles on how the average person can go from being broke to not being broke, instead of just talking about how fun it is to not be broke, right? Because that's one of the things that I remind Michael on a regular basis when he comes, because a lot of the times he gives advice, and it would be feasible advice, but the advice has a prerequisite that the average person doesn't have the skill set for, and that advice doesn't apply to a lot of individuals, because how do I get there is the problem, right? While that idea might be a good idea, if I don't have a route to get to that idea, how can I perform that idea? So I put a lot of effort into giving you guys the initial startup and some mid-grade maintenance information, so that if you kind of are not in the transition phase, but you kind of want to upgrade and improve, I give you a little bit of information on that. But I also give you guys a lot of information on how to start somewhere, right? And then start progressing yourself to a level of stability, and then move into upgrading and expansion. You know, if somebody who's living from paycheck to paycheck, or borrowing money to keep things afloat, that person is not going to go from borrowing money to keep things afloat to buying into gold and silver. That's financially irresponsible. You don't have any money to fall back on. Gold and silver doesn't do anything for you until you sell it. And if the market dips where it is less than what you paid for it when you need it, you're going to sell it and lose out on a bunch of money, which causes you to basically throw your money away. You have to first put your money in a place where your money is making money for you, and then you have a reasonable quantity of income to cover enough stuff so that you don't need to touch the money until it is time. And when it is time, that money is supposed to cover everything that you need, and most of the things that you want, right? That would be a good retirement. Because if you failed at life with life choices, you are now 75, 80 years old, and you're a door greeter at Walmart. You're 45, 50 years old, and you're a door greeter at Walmart, not because you want to, but because you need the money and there's no other way to do it. Steven says, a good bit of that advice, quit working somewhere before the 99 to the 2000. I'm going to be honest with you. the majority of my advice is to tell everybody before anything to find a way to stop having to work for somebody else and start working for yourself. That's the first step in freedom. Because if you're working for yourself and you're subcontracting to all these other businesses, you no longer have the fear of getting fired from your job because a machine took your job. First step. Second step is automate the situation so that somebody else is doing the work for you or the machines are doing it for you, right? And then you want to reallocate your responsibilities to only handling the advice. I mean, not the advice, the handling the money, and then working towards other things. And that actually would help, because once you reach retirement phase, if you have a business that's making money for you and you have income and collateral and everything somewhere else that's making money for you, you don't have to do anything else. You just get paid. You might answer the phone, you might dictate terms, you might be in a boardroom talking about which direction you want your company to go, but you are not putting in the grunt work anymore. And when, like, whether it's 2046, 2056, you're still around, technology starts having 50% of the job market, you are not competing as a 65 or 70-year-old person against the youth and machines. That's what I tell people. I'm like, y'all want to phase yourselves out before big business phases out humans. That's what I tell y'all to do. Oh, Steven says, not you, your advice, Michelle's advice. Yo, they got, Michael's advice. Michael be telling you to work until you're dead, because Michael's advice is stemming from before 1999 and the year 2000. That's what you're talking about. His advice stopped working a long time ago. His advice stopped working about 40 years ago. Because the majority of and Michael has fantastic advice. And if all else fails, you can take Michael's advice as a way to have a fallback on something, because you can get a CDL and start working on that in a shorter period of time than it takes to get a nursing degree. But the problem is that your intro level pay is still going to be $35,000 or $45,000 a year. You're not going to jump into a CDL license and start driving somebody else's truck for somebody else's company at $65,000 and $70,000 a year. If you owned your own truck and you were subcontracted to the company, you're likely to make more money. But you don't own your own truck until you've worked for somebody long enough to afford your own truck so that you can get paid more money. So that's one of the things that Michael didn't talk about. And some of the advice that he can give that is good advice, if we did not have the technological changes, it would have been good advice. So if he would have been giving this advice in 2006, it would have been fantastic. But with fintech, like, for example, you can't go into a real estate business deal with an IOU anymore because nobody gives a shit. Everybody's got an IOU. That's like part of the process. You put up the IOU. I'm still selling the house to other people. It's still on the market. I'm still showing it. First come, first serve. Back in the day, an IOU stopped the process. Back in the day, 50 years ago, if I wanted this property, an IOU would stop the process. You would no longer market the house to anybody. You'd be waiting to see if I'm gonna get the money together and come and get it to you. They have learned some people fall through. So if you don't have the money, I'm still showing the property to other people. Somebody gives me a better offer than you before you bring the money, it's theirs, right? And it is what it is. A lot of the times, even when you have the $5,000 breach of contract scenario, if somebody else is going to offer me a certain quantity of money plus the $5,000, I'll pay you the $5,000 so that I can sell the property for $20,000 more than what you are offering. I'll just charge the other guy $25,000 so I can give you your $5,000, get you out of the way, get an extra $20,000 from the other guy. I still made more money out of the deal, and you still lost the property that you were trying to have. So at the end of the day, in 2026, the issues that used to succeed before technology don't succeed now. The way people used to behave back in the day, you can't behave that way because social media is watching, right? A lot of us have. I'm looking at it here on TikTok. So many people's profiles are not their real photo, but there are a lot of people here that do have their real photo on their profile. The ones that have a fake image have less to worry about public scrutiny, but the ones that have their genuine image on their profile photo, the ones that have their real name on their profile photo, those are going to be the ones where your YouTube videos, your TikTok videos, your Instagram videos, when your employer Googles your name, these photos and videos come up. Somebody tags you in a video that you're in, that video comes up. And with flock cameras and all of this other stuff, where data collection for publicly accessible, internet accessible information, people will know everything about you before they meet you. You think they don't know you, but they know everything about you before they meet you. So for you, first impression is second encounter. Back in the day, first impression meant I met you for the first time. Today, first impression is second encounter, because I know who you are. I seen your YouTube channel. I've seen your TikTok channel. So you know, I seen your highlight reel, right? So now that I'm meeting you, I'm hoping to God that you are not like your highlight reel. And as soon as you say two things out of your mouth that connect you directly to that highlight reel, I don't even want to have nothing to do with you no more. And that ultimately means you got 15 to 30 seconds to change their mind about you before they tell you no, because you're coming to them asking for something. If your brand was built to attract people, employers would be asking you to come talk to them because they have something that is worth your while. Ain't nobody calling you offering you shit because they don't really want you. They'll accept you for a price because they could use the extra help, but they don't want you. That's why you got a bunch of applications online that nobody's ever touched base on. How many people right now filled out an application online and got a call back from that application in the last 5 years? How many people have a resume online right now where you are still getting job offers even though you still got a job? Nobody. Why? Your resume went into a listserv. Employers do not want you. Not because you're a bad person. Your social media will give you a bad image. Only when they ran out of workers will they come look for workers. And now that they're desperate, they're willing to take less, which means you now qualify. Because the elites, they will call you, email you, send you a text message, and mail you a letter and let you know we want you. The non-elites, it's a toss-up, whoever first. Steven says, can I ask a quick straw man topic question while I'm on break? Go ahead, man. You should have been put that question in there. You're one of the members of the membership. You're prioritized, Steven. You're prioritized, bro. You've been in the membership for months now. You are prioritized. You could have threw the question in there while you were waiting on me to answer the question. Trader says there should be a class in high school called the rat race trap. It used to be in high school. It used to be classified as home economics, but they took it out of high school because broke people didn't find value in it. Home ec wasn't just about easy bake ovens and vacuum cleaners. Home ec was teaching you how to keep your house in order and how to balance your checkbook and how not to overspend on your credit cards and how to do things that we don't teach our kids at our house, how to do things that we don't know how to do ourselves because we weren't taught. And then we're going to blame the school system. The school system is a plethora of adults that at the end of the day don't know because they weren't taught. And we are supposed to teach our kids at home. And then our kids are only supposed to go to school and ask questions. But the kids don't have questions because they don't have initial knowledge that they're interested in to ask a question about. So now they're just sitting there like the teacher's a babysitter while parents are at work, so that whenever they get out of school, they can go back and play because the kids have no value in the educational system because the parents do not put value in the child's knowledge, which is one of the reasons why the kids are bad at school. They're annoyed at their teacher because the teacher is an authoritative disciplinarian, not an asset. If the teacher was an asset to the children from the eyes of the child, the children would behave. The asset is the cute girl in school. The asset is impressing the boys on the yard. The assets to the children is their reputation on the playground. And that's why they could give two shits about what's going on in the classroom. But Stephen, quick answer to quick question. Stephen says, Wendy's just cut their dividends in half and the stock tanked. Do you think it's worth grabbing some, hoping that it goes back up? No. The fast food industry is hurting. Everybody's hurting. Everybody's hurting. Across the board, everybody's hurting. But one of the things you got to look at is Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King. They're all competitors. So they slashed the dividends because the stock tanked. Buying so here's the thing. Look at the macro level experience in fast food. Are less people eating out than they used to? Recognizing the cost for fast food is going up, less people can afford it. If you were trying to play the long game and buy Wendy's stock, assuming that maybe after Donald Trump gets out of office, assuming he doesn't get a third term, that we would have the market restabilize itself and people start spending more money. We stop going to war with Iran. We stop having a high gas prices. 6 months after the gas prices start going back down, we have more money to spend. People start going back out to eat, and they favor Wendy's, right? Let's say that hypothetical. If that's what you were aiming for, buy the stock. But realistically speaking, it costs too much money to eat out right now. And it's going to cost too much money to eat out for the next 2 years. Okay, so if you are not playing the long game, there is no point in you micro level investing in certain industries simply because the stock dropped. But if you wanted to have a 20 or 30-year plan for Wendy's, McDonald's, and Burger King, they're going to be around forever. They're not going to be down forever. It will go back up eventually. I can't say the dividend shares price will go back up, but the stock price will go back up. So if you wanted to buy it for a 15, 20-year plan and you wanted to hold it, then it is possible that you could get it now while it's cheaper and then sell it later when it's higher. Or if you're getting it as a dividend paying scenario, if the percentage ratios are reasonable to you, then you could possibly try to get that. But when you even think about doing it for the dividends, if you're doing it for the dividends, for long-term investments, that's not real estate investment trusts and BDCs. You want to acquire businesses that have grown dividend distribution year over year, regardless of how the share price fluctuates year over year. So if they have raised their dividend distribution for their shareholders year over year over the past 10, 20, 30 years, that is going to be a better stock to buy, even if it's more expensive, than it would be to buy a cheaper stock simply because it's cheaper, recognizing that they did price cuts. Real estate investment trust is for fast, short-term growth to allow for you to build your portfolio up faster so that you can then utilize that money to be reallocated into dividend-paying growth stocks, that increase the dividend price year over year, where they're paying you more money year over year for the same shares, as opposed to the share price staying the same and or not the share price, the dividend payment staying the same and the growth of the share price fluctuating. Because yes, you want to get from the growth of the share price, but you want to have stocks that have increased dividend distribution year over year. That's the ones that are the best ones to grab, not just because it's cheap. Because if you buy it today and it's paying 12 cents a share, but it used to pay 4 cents a share, it likely over the same period of time, it'll start being like $1 a share. If it's in an increase in dividend distribution, that is going to be more effective for you than getting something that used to be 50 cents a share, now it's 25 cents a share, just because the stock dropped from $10 to $5. Ultimately, the percentage yield is still going to be the same. It's just a cheaper stock. But the benefit for you is not that the stock is going to go back up price-wise to buy the stock, because you said you're buying and holding, you're not selling. So the dividend is not going to go back up on you, just how much it costs to buy the stock. So if you buy the stock cheaper now you're looking at, your question is, well, if it's paying 50 cents a share now when it used to pay $1 a share, it's not going to go back up. Since it's paying 50 cents a share now, if I buy it now at $5 a share, it's cheaper than what it was when it was $10 a share. But even if it goes up to $20 a share, I'm still only getting 50 cents a share. Can I go and get a different stock that went from 50 cents a share to $1.50 a share that's likely to go up to $5 a share over time as payment to me? Because I can buy that one now at whatever it's worth. And in time, it'll go from being 50 cents a share to $2.50 a share. I don't have to do anything but hold my shares, and I will keep getting paid even more money from my shares year over year. Since you are doing a buy and hold for life strategy, you are now focused on how the dividends increase year over year, not just how cheap the stock is this year. Because all the stocks are going to be cheaper this year than what they were 20 years ago, because Donald Trump just screwed the whole market with all the decisions that he made. Because you have to change tradition by making drastic changes today that has direct negative impacts today on the economy in order for you to have a better result in the future. You cannot have a better result in the future if you don't change from the past. So whether or not I like what he's doing, whether or not you like what he's doing, everything that he's doing will force some kind of change, and that change will destroy confidence in the stock market. So everything is going to suck right now. But you're not focusing on everything sucking right now. You're focusing on what happens when he's no longer in office, whether it's after his third term, whether it's after this next term, whether he dies in office, whatever the case may be. What are you going to be doing after he's gone? That's what you're focused on. And you want to have all of the stocks in your portfolio, stocks where the dividend grows year over year, not just the share value, not the price of the stock. The dividend distribution grows year over year. You want to pay attention to that. Trader says Wendy's operating profits are down 13% year over year. And that's one of the reasons why I said no. Wendy's is down, Carfax is down. You know what I mean? McDonald's and Burger King should be down too. We should not see a lot of consumer staples in a profitable position right now, because we have high gas prices. The resources that are being shipped in are going to get raised up on top of that. And then higher wages, because minimum wage is going up, whether we want it to or not. And all of that, the manufacturer, the distributor of the product, the restaurant, is going to put all of those prices off on the customer. If they're renting the land instead of owning it, the rent going up, they're going to add that to the cost of the food. So what used to be $1 sandwiches and $5 sandwiches are now $10 and $15 sandwiches. We used to have a $1 menu. We don't have a $1 menu anymore. It is now called a value menu, because the cheapest thing on the damn menu is $5, right? Drinks are $3 a cup now. Used to be $1.50, $3 a cup now. So we have to recognize that if you're going to invest in fast food for the sake of long-term growth over time, because people are going to still buy fast food. But before we buy fast food, we'll go buy TV dinners at Walmart and use a microwave at the house. Even if we don't have time to cook, it is cheaper to get a $2 TV dinner at Walmart than it is to spend $15 on a value meal and still be hungry in 2 hours. Think about that real quick. Think about when you start thinking about fast food, think about this real quick. You got TV dinners for $2 a plate at Walmart and other such places. And even if you ate 2 of those 3 times a day, you would spend $12 to eat 3 times that day, instead of going to Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, or whatever, and spending $15 to eat once, and still have to eat 2 more times that day, especially if you're active. And that's not snacks, that's not dessert, that's the basic I need to eat substance to survive food cost. $12 to $15 a meal, or $4 a meal, 3 meals a day. People are going to deviate away from fast food, deviate away from cooked food served to them, and put more money on TV dinners before they cook at home. That's where the market is going to shift. So if you really wanted to put your money on something in the food industry, put your money on TV dinners. That's what you should be looking into, because them mugs is going off the shelf. Because we can't cook, especially single men. We can't cook all the time, but we can damn sure take some food out the refrigerator, put it in the microwave. We got women these days don't know how to cook right now, 2026. Women don't know how to cook, and they feel like it's oppressive for them to know how to cook. But she might take the food out the freezer, put it in the microwave for you. So if you're going to invest in something, invest in how people behave. Trader says, it seems that people are sick of the high prices of fast food across the board. No, people are broke. We're not sick of high prices. If we were sick of high prices, Jordans would go out of business. Jordan shoes would not get sold if we were sick of high prices. No, we just can't afford it. Specifically because they bought the damn Jordans and the Gucci and the Chanel. They bought all the high price stuff that was overpriced for the brand. Now they don't have enough money to buy food. So they can't go to the fast food restaurant in the mall and get them something to eat, because they spent all of their money on a $350 pair of shoes on the top shelf in Foot Locker. That's why they can't buy food. So they're going to go home and cook them some ramen noodles so that they can rock those new J's for school season. That's the mindset of broke people. I want to look fresh for my first day at school. So I'm going to spend $2,000 on 3 outfits, hopefully, for the first 3 days of school. That's what they're going to do. $300 for some shoes, $50 to $100 a shirt, 3 shirts, $100 to $200 for each pair of pants, underwear, socks, matching hair stuff, bracelets, rings, watches, all this other stuff. It's going to be a fashion show the first 7 days of school. But everybody going to be broke as fuck, ramen noodles, leftovers, robbing Peter to pay Paul, no gas money until they get their refund from school. That's how college is going to be. So you can imagine how high school is going to be, where mom and dad doesn't want their kid to look bad, so they're going to spend all this extra money for the kids to go to school and look fresh. Not buy them a bunch of school supplies for the kids to be smart. They want the kids to look fresh. Then they get mad when I tell them, donate to your school. They don't like the public school system, but the teacher in the public school is taking the school supplies out of the teacher's salary and buying the school supplies and giving it to the kid, because the kid didn't come with school supplies, but the kid's got $600 worth of clothes on right now, sitting in my classroom, heckling me while I'm trying to teach kind of situation. That's what we got in the public school system. We got broke parents buying kids expensive clothes, but they're not buying the kids the school supplies that they need. The teacher is buying the school supplies out of their paycheck, and the student don't got what they need, do not have the provisions they need, but they look good. And I've said it twice, and the reason why I said it twice, right now, Cash Money Millionaires. Gator boots with the Gucci shoes, ain't got no job, but I stay fly. Can't pay my rent, but my money, cause my money spent. I stay fly, that her first verse right there. That's that. We learned that in the 90s, and we're incorporating it in how we raise our kids. Our kids are going to learn. I don't need to be responsible about my education because the teacher will provide it for me. I'm going to look fresh in school so that my peers envy me. I'm broke, but I look good. That's going to be the reason why broke stay broke. Trader says sneakers or food. That's a question. I prefer food over sneakers any day. Bro, I don't. My shoes cost less than my food. That's how I'm living life right now. My shoes cost less than my food. That's how I'm living life right now. I am not about to sit over here and call myself trying to spend $300-something on a pair of shoes. If that's the case, I might as well just go get me a Glock with a Glock switch. It makes no sense to be sitting out there spending all that money on that. That makes no sense. but that's what they're doing. So since consumer behavior is branded attire to look rich, and their behavior is to not have the ability to afford eating out because they can't afford to eat out, two different markets are going to diminish. One is going to be fast food, the other is going to be alcohol. Not as many people, three clubs, not as many people are going out because they can't afford to go out after they finish spending all that money to look good. Not a lot of people can afford alcohol. That's why they don't go out. So if you're investing in alcohol, if you're investing in restaurants, if you're investing in nightclubs, those markets are going to go down faster than real estate because everybody needs a place to live. But we don't got to go out. And because we're not going out, what's going to happen now? The little bit of alcohol we do buy from the local liquor store, we're going to pop open a karaoke machine and hang out at the house and do what we do at the house at somebody's house instead of doing it out in the street of the club at an overpriced thing. So food is eating out is not going to be as done as it used to like 5 or 6 years ago. So that's my observation of things. Now, month over month, if we look back at it and see what happens, it might go down again, and I can tell y'all I told y'all so. But usually I'm not wrong about these things. I observe these on a macro level, and then I tell you guys what's going on with it. So back to Denmark real quick. He said my Nike addiction is still active. I don't know why. Oh, I know why. It's because I forgot to send you them Oxfords. Because your Nikes could have been a custom pair of Oxfords, and you could have been rocking some Oxfords and look way better. You could have been rocking a custom pair of Oxfords that would have been looking way better. Because now, if you would have had a custom pair of Oxfords, somebody look at your shoes, oh, they look nice. What kind are they? A wealthy train of thought would have said Oxfords, not the specific custom brand of Oxfords from a specific website that you got it from. Just they're Oxfords. I ain't never seen them before. I know. Because you're the only one that made them. But funny thing about it is that while you have a Nike addiction, everybody got the same shoe you got. There is nothing different from your shoe versus the person standing next to you with their shoe, except how many scuff marks is on your shoe or his shoe. That's the only difference between the two of you. Which one uses shoe the most? That's the only difference. But if you got you a custom pair of shoes, you walking down the street with a pair of shoes that people ain't never seen like that before, they're going to be looking at you because you're different. And if you're doing that with a durable shoe, that makes a hell of a lot more sense. I ain't saying that Nike's not durable. I'm just saying, why are we spending so much money for the brand so that we can look wealthy when we can spend less money on durability and look practical? Because true wealth is invisible. Truly wealthy people look poor. You will see truly wealthy people with sweats and slippers on, socks and sandals, driving an economy car because they don't need to impress society. They already know they got it. They probably have your boss in their back pocket, right? They're the kind of person that walks up on you like, do you know who I am? Because you're not supposed to be talking to me this way, right? I'm going to make a phone call. Not I want to talk to your manager. I'm going to make a phone call. They're not even going to fuck with it. Do you know who I am? Oh, I'm going to make a phone call. Hey. Buy this place and fire this guy. That's truly wealth. But head to toe expensive outfits, name brand everywhere. That's not true wealth. And you're promoting branding. You are a walking billboard for Nike because you're wearing Nike gear. But notice, Oxfords don't have Oxfords written on the damn shoe. It's just a shoe. Just like the same shoes on Donald Trump's feet. Oh, you ain't know about that part. What pair of shoes was Elon Musk wearing in the White House? He wasn't wearing dress shoes. Elon Musk is a billionaire, and Elon Musk was not wearing dress shoes in the White House. Can somebody tell me real quick what shoes was Elon Musk wearing in the White House? You would be amazed. Vans, black sneakers, Wranglers, black jeans, probably a Fruit of Balloon t-shirt, black t-shirt, and a blazer. Can't guess where the blazer came from. Regular shit. Why? He ain't gotta impress everybody. Sneakers of some sort, exactly. But did them sneakers have a logo on them? Did the sneakers even have Tesla's logo on them? No. Does Elon Musk walk around with Tesla printed on the back of his clothes? No. Regular clothes. Why? He's a billionaire. He does not need to impress anybody. He already knows he's got it. So as a result, he saves money on not trying to impress the people around him. Because if you're not impressed with what I have done, then either you're not important or I haven't done enough. That's why when I'm on this podcast and people come in and they might comment about my hair or something to that effect, and I just block them off the channel. Like if you are not here talking about the topic, either I'm not talking about an important topic or you're not here to learn something. One of the two. Right? If you're distracted about what's going on, right, then either I'm doing something wrong or you're not here for the right reasons. And for us, from the bottom working our way up, if we are representing the same mentality that I'm not doing this to impress you, I'm not buying Nikes so that people can know that I'm wearing Nikes. I'm going to buy a pair of shoes that I know fit, that I know are comfortable, that I know will last a long time. Whether they're a $20 pair of shoes or a $200 pair of shoes, those shoes will last me for a long enough period of time that I can buy me another pair of shoes, and I always got a decent pair of shoes on my feet. Last pair of shoes I bought cost me $20 off of Temu. Match some of the shirts that I wear. It's a black and chocolate brown pair of shoes that matches the black and tan shirt that I wore on a shirt the other day that matches the logo, all accidental. I bought those shoes because they were slip-ons. But I didn't feel like tying my shoes. Didn't feel like lacing up. Got me, put some inner soles in them that were free. I had a bunch of extra soles lying around the house, put some inner soles in them that were free. $20 for a pair of shoes. Got those shoes 4 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago. Wear them every day. The other pair of shoes that I had bought a year ago, like a year and a half ago, actually, because I bought them like last year in January. Another pair of shoes that I bought like $35 off of Temu because they had fur in them for the snow. So when I walk my dogs at 2 o'clock in the morning on the ice, the shoes kept my feet warm. That's it. That's all I bought them for. So got 2 pairs of shoes, $50. No branding, no nothing. Bought them for a purpose, and they serve that purpose. Those shoes last me 3 years. They're like $3 a shoe. $3 a year for the shoe. It different than buying an $800 or $900 pair of shoes or $300, $500 pair of shoes to say that I'm only going to wear it till it gets scuffed. Now it no longer has value to me because people are going to look at my scuffed shoe and say, it's no longer the brand. It is a scuffed shoe, right? That's how valuable the brand is on the shoe. That if you damage the shoe, it is no longer the brand of the shoe. It is a damaged shoe. The brand no longer has value because the shoe is damaged. On your feet. Do you wear no brand business suits as well? What brand is the shirt I'm wearing? Who made this shirt? I'm gonna put your question up there because you asked me, do I wear no branded business suits? Who made this shirt? You don't know. I wear no branded business suits. Matter of fact, right now, I'm working on a suit that I'm going to get tailored. It's going to come from a tailor. Some people not even going to be, the connoisseurs would identify the suit as soon as they see it. But the average person will look at that and say, nice suit. Some curious about it would follow it up with, where'd you get it from? But it's not going to be a branded suit where you can look at the suit from afar and say, oh, that's a Steve Harvey suit, or oh, that's I don't know, Nike business attire, or whatever, because it's not about the brand. You're supposed to be buying for intent. If you're buying for intent, not to impress, the purpose that you bought it for is what it must serve. Now, the price is the cost of your intent, not the brand. And if you can find your intent served by a non-branded item, because you got to understand, white labeling, a non-branded item can then be sold to a brand so that the brand can resell the non-branded item with their brand on it, and you're buying the brand where you could have bought it from the original manufacturer before the brand got put on it. Same product, same quality, same durability, 10% of the price. Because again, Nike, $35, Nike Jordans, $350. The shadow of the Jumpman makes the shoe cost 100 times more than what it would cost with just a Nike check on it. Now, if you take that Nike check off of the shoe, it would likely be a $20 unbranded shoe from Payless. Think about that for a minute, y'all. But if you grew up in a household where your parents prioritized branding, they taught you branding as a baby, putting you in expensive branded clothes. They taught you branding as a young child, 6, 7, 8 years old, taking you to the store, only fitting you in name branded stuff. The parents are talking about how brands are important when they're buying your school clothes. They teach you about branding, what's quality, what's not quality, based on the brand. Then when the kids learn branding, the kids reinforce that branding, and then they learn more branding from their colleagues in school. And then they get social. That's where the social difference comes in school, is because the kids learned branding from their parents in the beginning, and then they reinforce that by segregating themselves from people who don't have the money to pay for the branding. But none of the kids have jobs. So now my mommy can afford branding and your mommy can't. So I'm more important than you are. That's the behavior. But they're both broke because they're both in public school, not private school. They're both on a free lunch program because their mommy and daddy can't afford to pay for lunch, right? But they can afford to pay for them expensive ass clothes, right? FX Trader says people really pay for brand names. That's nuts. Yeah. Take this for example. This is Sam's Club water, purified Sam's Club water. Now, I can tell you right now, there are some people right now watching the show that would have gotten Aquafina branding, Smart Water branding, Fiji water branding, right? We could just start throwing off name brands of what is it? It's water in a plastic bottle. If I take the label off of the bottle, it's still water in a plastic bottle. The only thing the label says is who put the water in the bottle, if that, because really a white label would be the bottle of water pre-bottled by the person who bottled it, sent to the person who put their label on it. Let's see what you got going on here. We have a lot of people that can't. Oh Lord, I give them a chance. I give them a chance, and they didn't threw me into some stuff. Hold on a second. Switch me back to where I was. Y'all done put me into somebody else's thing and got me up in here this to this to this. But how do you go back to solo? No, we don't want to deactivate the line. I want to switch back to. I haven't learned how to do this yet. Hold on, y'all. We wait. No, this is trying to solo match, play match. Got to figure out how to get back out of this stuff. I know there's a button up here somewhere. There we go. Thank you, Jesus. They got out for me. Shit. Is a smart water brand? Yes, exactly. So the whole thing in a nutshell is that we waste money on things that we shouldn't be wasting our money on, and that's one of the things I was talking about with Denmark, where you could in fact improve your quality of life by removing unnecessary spending from your budget, which would allow you to have a larger quantity of discretionary spending, which would allow you to accomplish more things. That's what we were trying to reinforce there when we went into that side topic. So real quick, we got to swing back through because we do got a little bit more to go with our Danish topic real quick. The core of Danish social life is the foreigning that we have to deal with, a club or an association that you guys want to deal with. Social circles are built around shared activities. Every social circle is going to be built around shared activities, sports, hobbies, other such interests, but you have to find fiscally responsible hobbies, right? Because the hobbies that cost a lot of money, the more you do it, the more you spend, are hobbies that are not effective. You need to have the hobbies that allow you to actively do something, maybe build something that doesn't cost a lot of money, like building a boat or something like that. And I say not costing a lot of money because it takes a long time to whittle wood, as opposed to if you were building a car from the ground up, because freaking transmission costs a lot of money, right? So you got to get a hobby like fishing. You know, it doesn't cost a lot of money to go fishing, right? But this is going to be the primary mechanism that you're going to be using in other countries to meet people. Spontaneous socializing, common in other cultures, is going to be rare in Denmark. Denmark is not going to just have random people talking to strangers, right? We are very social in America, where a foreigner can look lost and walk up, and as soon as we hear that accent, we're just open to be best friends with this person, right? But true to life, in America, Americans are not very social with other Americans. We're usually agitated and pissed off with one another. So unless somebody genuinely comes up with an interesting question about how to get from point A to point B, they would have to start that conversation with "I'm lost" to trigger my wanting to help them. And then they, at a 15 to 20 foot distance, say, "I want you to show me how to get to this location." And then they start getting help. But if that's not the case, what ultimately happen is that more often than not, you're not going to see the social butterfly scenario where random strangers just meet each other in a traffic stop and then we're all best friends. No. You typically see each other, you ignore each other. You see each other a second time, you might speak. You see each other a third time, you might spark up a conversation. That's how we operate in America, right? Danish people are generally going to be polite, but very reserved with strangers. Their social circles are often long established, and it can be difficult to penetrate those social circles. The initial months that you're going to be out there can be marked by a sense of professional and social isolation, meaning that you're only going to be out there interacting with the people that you're doing business with or doing business for, right? Or in some situations, they're doing business for you, like the cashiers at the grocery store, cab drivers, all this other stuff. The solution is not to force interactions with individuals, but to integrate into the existing system. So if you're joining one of the clubs, that will be a key thing. So for example, if you joined a local running club, that can be an effective entry point, because everybody out there is running, you're running. While y'all are running, you can start up a conversation. before or after the run, you can start up a conversation. Eventually, you guys will end up developing an intro level acquaintanceship that allows for the foot in the door to start building a network. This will serve as a catalyst over time through shared activities and post-activity socializing, professional and social connections begin to form. And we see this in the Eastern culture where everybody goes to work. After the work day is over, more often than not, they have like team dinners, right? Where the whole office like goes out to eat together and they hang out and they talk and they get to know each other and it formulates bonds. So your social network is actually everybody that you work with, right? I don't know why we don't do that here in America. I strongly believe that if I built a big enough business in person, like people that are around me working, I strongly believe that I would be the kind of boss that's like, all right, guys, let's go to dinner. But here in America, the only reason why they'd show up is because I'd be paying. So, but top down experience. We have to recognize that the initial reserve is going to be replaced by genuine engagements. So participants are no longer going to be strangers, but members of the same group when you are joining a club and then you're interacting with people in that club. This reveals one of the 4 truths about Denmark, because in Denmark, a social professional bond is forged through shared activities, not casual conversations. So you do not become friends and then do things. You do things together and then become friends. And really, that's how we should be establishing relationships in America, is that we should not be interacting with these females and begging them to go out with us. We should be involved in an activity with them because we're doing something that we want to do and they want to do it too. And during that engagement, we decide that we want to take them somewhere. It'd be harder to pick up chicks, but you would be picking up a more genuine chick. This also explains the distinct separation between work and private life, because unlike many other countries where colleagues form a primary social group, in Denmark, work is work. Your professional and social life is typically construed elsewhere or constructed elsewhere. Your professional life is on the job. Your personal life is not on the job. Navigating this cultural maze is a critical situation that can be managed, just like your finances. Your finances could be, right? A budget is going to provide the living expenses, but it cannot purchase the network. That's going to require investing time and a degree of humility and a willingness to participate in the established social structures. And one of the things that you have to recognize is that when you're going to other countries, promoting, presenting, and self-identifying wealth does not provide you with a network. It actually only produces a target on your back to be robbed as a foreigner in a foreign land, where the natives that, like everywhere else, steal to make a living instead of getting a real job, promoting that wealth, that you have money, that you have that. It does not show self-prestige, right? It just shows that you have expensive stuff and a lot of money to spend money on it, which again makes you a target. So if we changed our mindset here in this country and we stop wasting money on stuff that doesn't do anything other than promote the fact that I have money that you can steal from me, we would put our money in other places where we would less likely be perceived as a target and more likely respected for who we are and what we do, right? So if networking is a puzzle, then the dating market in Denmark is going to operate like a different universe, because preconceived notions about attraction, courtship, and gender dynamics are not just ineffective, they can be counterproductive. So the following is going to be an analysis from a foreign perspective. So I want you guys, this is a male perspective. So ladies, pay attention. Foundational principle of Danish dating is absolute, unshakable equality. American women, y'all not ready for this. Danish women are as a rule, fiercely independent. So the concept of a man as a provider is entirely foreign and generally viewed as unattractive there, right? So the dynamic of the chase is largely non-existent. That's the part that women in America are not going to handle, because if we are equal, I'm not chasing you, you show interest in me, and then we see what's going on, right? And that's what happens in Denmark. If a Danish woman is interested, she is likely to make the first move, and she's going to be direct about it, and potentially pay for the first date, unless we decide to go Dutch. The fourth righteousness can be disarming, but it is highly efficient. Now, this equality protocol extends to the dating itself, because a standard procedure is to split the bill more often than not. An offer to pay for everything can be misinterpreted as an assertion of dominance, but it can be appreciated if it's only done on occasion. Dates are typically low key, a walk, a coffee, or a single beer, which is not that hard to say I can pay for myself, because $5 for a beer, a walk, $2 for a coffee, that's nothing. I don't know why first dates don't exist like that here in America. We talk about them on a regular basis, but people don't really try to go down that road. The emphasis is supposed to be on conversation and mutual assessment, not elaborate gestures. So we're not trying to find the nearest 3 to 5 star restaurant. We're trying to find value in the other person. Now, the progression of the relationship can feel a little bit slow. If you're trying to get into a relationship in America, it's like 2-3 nights dating, sleepover, and then bang, bam, boom, inside of 2 to 3 weeks, we're dating. And then 3 months in, we're talking about marriage. And within 9 months to a year, we're engaged, and we're married within 12 to 18 months, and divorced within 3 years, if not 5 years. We move fast in America. In comparison to Danish standards, Danish dating is going to be considered really slow. Danes often move quickly from an app to real life meetings, because why waste time on a dating app? But the subsequent development is going to be more measured. Exclusivity is not going to be assumed. It is a topic for open and honest communication. For a foreigner, transparency is going to be the most effective strategy. Stating your nationality and the language limitations on the dating profiles is typically well received. Honesty is valued above all else. One observation from a local suggests that Danish men can be too passive. They are so afraid of being disrespectful that they sometimes do nothing at all. Therefore, a willingness to initiate a conversation, when done from a place of genuine interest rather than entitlement, can be a significant advantage. Meaning that if you went there and had a conversation with her just for the sake of having a conversation with her, you're likely to find a better interaction than the locals, because they're afraid to do anything because they're too nice, right? But you're not interacting with the person to get laid. You're interacting with this person to get to know the person. Your intent is going to be the key driver of the outcome of your engagement. Navigating the scene is going to require unlearning a lifetime of assumptions. And it can be frustrating and very confusing, but it's ultimately a fascinating study in social dynamics. The Denmark dating culture, like everything else, is a mature system designed for adults who value clear communication. Now, this has been an analysis of the operational realities of living in Denmark. So input is going to be requested from you guys. And I want to know, either before, after the show, or in upcoming shows when you guys let me know what's going on, if you've had any experiences that are rare, considering a move to Denmark, or you've ever traveled to another country that you wish you could go back to, and you really enjoyed it and you want to recommend that country, we can see if we've actually covered it. And if we haven't, we'll throw it up for upcoming shows. Make sure that you guys post your pressing questions into the comments, because we like to give you guys a lot of insight and information and help you guys recognize, as we move forward, different ways to knock things out and assess for things. Now, for more objective, data-driven analysis of Expertarian life, make sure, if you haven't done so, to like and subscribe to the channel and activate the notification buttons, not just on TikTok, but also on YouTube. And double check the membership, because we have been providing a decent quantity of in-depth information about all of these topics, that and more topics to come. So dissecting the budget, the tax code, and the culture, we arrive at our final assessment of Denmark as a whole. Should you move to Denmark on a $3,000 budget? The answer is that it is entirely feasible, but it would demand a fundamental shift in mindset. I would say that going to Denmark with $3,000 and trying to force yourself to budget more responsibly would be an irresponsible decision to make. I would say that if you're not already a responsible budgeter, where you're capable of fundamentally functioning on a realistic, minimalistic budget, that you should double down on that and go to Denmark with 6K. That's what I would suggest. Because if you went with 6 grand and you found the perfect apartment, inner city downtown, for 3 grand, you still got 3 grand left to live the lifestyle. If the amenities that you're paying for are above average, and you end up having a $2,500 a month lifestyle on top of the 3 grand housing, you would still have $500 left over. But you would go from riding bikes everywhere to be driven everywhere. You would go from basic amenities to advanced amenities. You might go from having a regular place that you cook and clean at home to having housekeepers and cooks at your house cooking stuff for you. The difference in the experience is going to be substantial. But the improvements that are unnecessary are luxury, and those luxuries will have your stay cost more. And that's one of the things that you guys have to take heavily into consideration when you're planning your trips. It is going to be an exercise of strategy and intention and continuous trade-offs when you're trading off the convenience of finance versus the inconvenience of effort. So to determine if it is the right move for you, a brutally honest self-assessment is going to be required. First, your financial strategy. If the primary objective is to build wealth through high salary and low taxes, then Denmark at this income level is not an optional theater of operations. The correct strategy is going to involve residing in a smaller city like Aarhus or Odense, utilizing the bicycles and primary transportations, mastering the discount supermarkets, and conducting aggressive investing through global platforms. Saving is going to be possible, but only with a strict discipline. But if you were trying to go in off of Denmark's, I believe, $6,000, $6,500 a month income level, which will put you in like the $72,000 to $75,000 a year income range. If you were going to Denmark with that kind of money, then Denmark would be definitely feasible for you in the inner city areas. Secondly, your relationship strategy is going to be important, because true to life, no matter what people say, you're single for 2 reasons. 1, you can't find the person that you like to like you back, and 2, the people that like you, you don't like. That's why you're single right now. At the end of the day, most people want to have a relationship with someone because the majority of the population is pack mentality. We pack mentality in a different way, though, because we pack mentality by having friends that we hang out with, social media platforms that we involve ourselves with, but it's pack mentality. In our in-person lifestyle, our pack mentality is going to be the closest friends that we see the most often, and the family that we have, or the family that we create. And we cannot create that family without first finding somebody that's willing to agree to create that family. So at some point, men and women alike will, no matter what country you go to, try to find a person to create a pact with. So the dating culture is heavily important. How are you having nightmares about? I'm trying to close up my podcast and you over here having nightmares. Come here. Come here. When they sleep and they start, you gotta wake them up. You gotta wake them up. My kids ain't gonna have no sleep. They're gonna be they're gonna mess around and have a nightmare, and I'm like, get up and let's go play some Xbox. We're gonna play some Resident Evil till you fall asleep. But yes, you have to pay attention to these things. So if you're supposed to be seeking a partner that's going to fit traditional roles, like a lot of us men are looking for traditional wives. Here in America, you can't find them. You can find them in Southeast Asia, South Korea, stuff to that effect, but you can't really find the traditional roles in America. If you're trying to go to Denmark and find those traditional roles, Denmark is likely not a suitable match for you. However, if the goal is truly an egalitarian partnership with a financially, intellectual, and social equality lifestyle, then it may be an ideal environment for you. So the strategy is going to be different because you have to be direct, honest, and fully embrace the equality dynamic. Finally, and most critically, your residency strategy. Every country is going to have a different residency strategy. The single most important piece of advice is this: do not make a long-term commitment without a trial period. A 3 to 6 month exploratory stay is a low risk investment, and that should be the idea for every country you're going to. Go there under a tourist visa and see what it's like. Come back on a different visa when you know that that's what you want to do for an extended stay. You can go on a tourist visa and then reapply for a different kind of visa after you've gotten there and you like it there, because depending on the country you go to and their processing time or whatever, if you're going there on a 3 month and you first 30 days in, you're like, yeah, I'm good to go. And you want to get the ball rolling to change your 3 month stay into a 12-month stay. By the time your 90 days is up, you likely in certain countries would have the approval to put you into a 6 month, 9 month, 12 month, depending on what you're coming as. Because if you're coming as a digital nomad, there are a lot of countries are doing digital nomad visas. A lot of countries have retirement visas for the people who have pensions and 401ks and all of this other stuff. And once you get to the country and talk to the local embassy and talk to certain trade attorneys and stuff to that effect to help you guys with your government processes, you will find more effectively your capabilities to actually transition from a tourist visa to another visa. So go there, see what it's like. Rent a room, test a budget in real world conditions. You want to experience a winner and attempt to join a club. This initial reconnection phase can prevent a costly long-term strategy error, because if you go and it's not for you, you already got a one-way ticket back out, right? You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket and then relocate the basket to an oven that you can't stand the heat of. So, question: was it simple? Happy Scandinavian life discovered? No. Not in the manner anticipated. Absolutely not. What was found was something infinitely more complex, challenging, and ultimately more real. Not a simple life, but a strategic one. Not a fairy tale romance, but the deep-seated values of equality. One doesn't simply live in Denmark. One must learn how to operate within its systems. Now, the true information about living in Denmark on a $3,000 a month budget is that most valuable currencies is not the kroner. It is the adaptability. It is going to be the willingness to learn, to be humble, and to analyze the world through a different strategic lens. For those that can execute this, Denmark is going to offer a return far more valuable than the initial investment. It provides a new perspective on what well-structured life can be, and that is going to be the return on investment that cannot be quantified. So we covered a lot of stuff today, answered quite a few strawman topics. We had a lot of stuff going on. I want to make sure that you guys remember, for those of you that are watching us on TikTok, that we're live 7 nights a week. We start off at around 11:30, 11:45 Eastern Standard Time, so make sure that you guys come back. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're going to be talking about different self-improvement, self-development, relationship, and building brand topics that we're going to be going on. So I want to make sure that you guys are ready for that. We're going to start off by saying, for you guys over there on YouTube, special shout out to FX Trader, Steven, OG Kicks, Unk, Andy, Michael, and Aztec. I really appreciate you guys. Joe Jack as well for coming to the show. Omni81 and Red Void from Twitch. I really appreciate you guys for coming as well. Then I want to say, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give you this information to make you guys higher value men, not just by improving your financial life, but also by improving your decision-making skills. Ladies, while this is a male-driven podcast from a male's perspective, you too can make yourselves higher value individuals simply by finding the things in your life that is inside of your control, changing the things you don't like, and then navigating around the things that are beyond your control. Then you have the capabilities of focusing on your 20 and 30-year plan. Figure out where you want to be at in the next 20, 30 years, reverse engineer that to what you got to do today to get there, and then proactively stay on that while you keep your eyes and ears open for the right suitor that has the appropriate personality and characteristics, not wealth, the appropriate characteristics and personality, the drive, ambition, dedication, motivation, integrity to accomplish his own goals, right? And then you want to see if those goals match your goals, because if y'all have similar long-term satisfaction goals, not short-term gratification goals, then you will find yourself being more successful with that individual than what you would be if one of you or both of you are chasing in the moment, YOLO, fear of missing out, trying to live in the moment lifestyle creep today. I tell you guys on a regular basis that if y'all got it together, that y'all can accomplish each other's goals together, and two people can make it to $1 million faster than one. But that only works if the lot of you have similar financial values. And I don't understand why in the first 5 dates we are not talking about financial values. In the first 5 dates that we're engaging somebody, we men spend more time trying to find ways to make the woman happy, to convince the woman to keep coming back, and women are spending more time entertaining themselves with how much the man is spending and trying to find out how much money the man has and how much stuff the man has. Neither person ever in the first 5 dates are trying to figure out what retirement looks like with this person and what financial strategies they have, what budgeting strategies they have, what investment strategies do they have, what free time do they have to start something long lasting, right? Because if you're a career driven person and you're married to the job, you don't have time for a relationship. So what's your work-life balance look like? We don't find these things out in the first 5 dates. If you've got time and the other person's willing to pay, you guys kind of let's link up, figure it out, sleep together, turn that into a relationship, all for the wrong reasons. And we have to change that mentality. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night. And for those of you that are on TikTok,
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.